Here. Why are we here today? And why are people gathering all over the world this weekend? I'm going to tell you why we're here. We're here to celebrate the most powerful, renewable resource on this planet, and that is you. The problem is, sometimes adults don't know that. Sometimes adults don't know just how powerful young people are. But you see, I believe that human beings developmentally are the most compassionate human beings on the planet when we're young. You know, show me a child who wants to send their sandwich to Africa after seeing something on a TV. Or a group of children that want to save the rainforest. And what do we do as adults when we're confronted with this? We're busy, right? We have busy lives. And we say things to kids like, oh man, seriously, do you know what a big problem that is? You know, and you're just one person, you know, you're kind of a little person, and do you know how big the rainforest is? And I believe that if we don't start early enough poking holes in the bubble in the lives of our children and giving kids a legitimate and powerful opportunity to learn and lead, then kids are going to start believing us, which I think is a terrible shame. So I have devoted my professional career to creating a paradigm switch, switching away from looking at kids as problems to be managed, looking at kids as people that we need to teach and give our wisdom to, and start looking at kids as an incredible, powerful resource. And maybe, just maybe, us adults will learn something in the process. But there's some good news. I have a secret for you, to you youth out there. You have the power to motivate, inspire, and mobilize adults, people, and communities in a way adults can't begin to imagine. You have ability to change this world and mobilize people in a way adults cannot even begin to imagine. And why is that? Youth voice is so important. It's because your skin in the game is doing the right thing. You're not making money, you don't have a big agenda, you're doing it for the right reason. And I have a little story to share with you. It's actually not a little story, it's a really big story, but it started with some little kids and a very big dream to save the life of a little boy. I want to introduce to you Jeremy. Jeremy was a 4-year-old little boy. I'm going to start talking to you before you see him here. Jeremy's a beautiful little boy, 4 years old, and a very healthy little boy. And when you see him up here, you'll see that he looks like he was just fine. Nothing was wrong with Jeremy. But deep down and inside, he had one of the rarest heart defects ever known to medical science. Jeremy was born with his heart in the opposite direction, reversed, so all of the plumbing in his aortas were on the wrong side. And he had so many heart issues, but he could never have a transplant because, again, nothing would hook up. The heart was going in the wrong direction. And so these 911 would race to Jeremy's house because 3 or 4 times a month, Jeremy's heart would stop. He would stop breathing, and literally, he would die. Dispatch would say, go to Jeremy's house. The fire engines and the paramedics would race over to see Jeremy, and they would shock him back. And one day, this fire crew from Station 6 left that house, and the engineer said, you know what, Captain? If we don't do something for this little boy, he's going to die. These are the fire captains right here, Jim Cass and Captain Steve McHale. And so they went back to the fire station in their big fire truck, and they decided they were going to start a fundraiser, and they had something in the newspaper to save the life of Jeremy. The parents needed to get Jeremy to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, but he had to go in a private jet, and it cost a lot of money, and he didn't have enough, the family didn't have the money, the insurance wouldn't cover it. There's Jeremy. What a great little guy, right? So they started raising money. They raised about $1,000, and they were in the newspaper. Well, I had just started a school program that I ran with 600 kids, and I thought, wow, they're going to spend a month helping others. Why not help Jeremy? So I brought it to the kids, and they said, yes, we want to help him. We want to make sure he stays alive. So I called this captain on the phone, and I said, hey, Captain Steve, this is Julie Hudash. I run an organization called Team Kids, and I have 600 kids that want to help you raise money to save Jeremy's life. And do you know what this fire captain said? He was like, well, how are kids going to help me, right? I mean, I'm a fire captain. I save lives. I have a big fire truck. How are little kids going to help me? He didn't say it just like that, but I could tell in his tone. He told me later, he thought, what are kids going to bring me, a bunch of pocket change? Let me tell you what happened, if we can switch the slides here. Jeremy came to the assembly, the kids met him, and we had 600 kids who were giving their entire life to save the life of this amazing little boy. They went door to door. They had a pancake breakfast with the police and firefighters. They sold popsicles. They did everything. And you know what they did? They mobilized the entire community, some people from around the globe. At the pancake breakfast, the LA Times, the Orange County Register was there. So guess what in the paper the next day? Was not just that there was a little boy that was suffering a life-threatening illness. There was a story about kids that turned off their computers and they were out there to save his life. And do you know what happened? Money poured in. We actually got a check from someone in Germany who was in the LAX and traveling back to Germany and picked up an LA Times. And there he read about it. We got a check from Germany. The next day, Fire Captain Steve McHale, who wasn't sure kids could help, got a phone call from a celebrity in Hollywood. And he said, how much do you need? Captain Steve said, we need $20,000. We have two. The very next day, a cashier's check for $18,000 was deposited into the fire station mailbox. Why? The celebrity said, how much do you need to get enough money for these kids to save this little boy's life? And shortly after that, a billionaire from Orange County called and said, listen, I want to donate my jet, my pilot, and my fuel, and I want to fly that little boy to the Mayo Clinic. And that's what happened. I have some really good news to share with you. Just last year, little 4-year-old Jeremy graduated from 6th grade. The kid, thank you. The kids who saved his life are graduating from college this year. Some want to go and work in the Peace Corps. One wants to be a nurse. They come back and intern for Team Kids. This has changed their life. This is what I'm telling you, kids. You really can make a difference. I'm going to leave that slide up there just so we remember the power of kids. Okay, so in honor of my 20th anniversary of my high school graduation, right? You guys didn't forget that, right? Why we're here today? I have 3 little pieces of tips to live a fulfilling life. One, ready, is find your spark. The notion of a spark is from the late, great Dr. Peter Benson, who is the CEO of the Search Institute. This is one of my heroes who really impacted the work that I do, and I never even met him. Unfortunately, he passed away last month, and this world lost a huge hero. But this is how he describes a spark. A spark, a spark, Dr. Benson describes a spark as that which you do that makes you the fullest and richest and fills you with purpose and hope. So kids, think for a minute. What is your spark? It's that which makes you the fullest and richest and fills you with purpose and hope. And since we're talking about kids, I'm going to tell you quickly about 2 of my sparks when I was growing up, when I was your age. First of all, I loved an adventure. I was a daredevil. A matter of fact, it's amazing that I'm standing here today and I'm alive. The biggest adventure, the better. Scuba diving, sailing, and I'll give you one example. I was skiing once, and I don't know if I was probably about this tall. I wanted to go on one more run down the face of the mountain. And I was up on the ski lift, and it was kind of windy, and I was thinking, okay, maybe I pushed this a little too far. The wind was blowing, and I could see the ice on the moguls below. And I was holding onto the pole of my chairlift because my bottom was blowing off the chairlift. And I was like, all right, here we go. Let's bring it on. So I get to the top of the slopes. The moguls are about as tall as me. And I think, how else am I going to get down this hill? One mogul at a time. So I started going down, and I did make it down the hill, but I made it down on the back of a ski patrol. It was a fun ride, by the way. I didn't get down because I was so little that I was blowing up the mountain. And I realized, okay, maybe this is one obstacle that's a little bit too hard for me to tackle. I also love my imagination. I always imagine, how can this world be better? Why are people suffering? And I felt this sense of responsibility, and I lived in my imagination, and I loved to write. And I would pour myself in my essays, and I would turn them into my teacher, and I would know they'd be fabulous. And I'd always get my writing back, and I'd have red marks all over it. But there were always these comments, like, I loved your story. It was great to read. but rework it, follow the rules, which seems sometimes to be the bane of my existence. But I had a great imagination. Okay, so the second thing is dream big and be resilient. I feel like sometimes our society has given you a little bit of a disservice in thinking that, life is such a quick thing, instant gratification. And I'm going to tell you, dreams are not delivered in a paper bag through a drive-through window. You got to try hard, you got to fail, then you'll succeed, and it will make it that much better that you tried hard. Dreams are hard work. And I'll tell you a little story. Remember I told you I love to write? I had all those red marks. I'll never forget the time when I was laying in bed, I was wide awake, and I was waiting for that thwack of the newspaper on the front porch of my house. And I was laying there, and I heard it, and I ran out, I grabbed the plastic bag. In my pajamas, I'm running back in the house as I'm pouring the LA Times out of the bag. Open up to the counter, and I get to the news section, and I see a story that I wrote. One of my stories, and it said, by Julie Hudash. One of my stories that I wrote in the newspaper, and there were absolutely no red marks whatsoever. And I thank my teachers for that, because you need those red marks. I learned how to follow the rules. You can't write in the LA Times with something messy. So it was the learning and also the encouragement. The teachers say, I love what you do. Keep doing it and keep trying. And most of all, this is the very most important, is be you. This should be the easiest thing of all, right? We all think we want to be like this person, or I like that person, I want to be like him. And I'm telling you, being you should be the easiest thing of all, right? You don't have to study, you don't have to take a test. Just be you. And you don't need to decide right now what you want to be. I didn't decide what I was going to be until I was almost 30. You do not need to know that. But you do need to decide who you're going to be. And speaking of who, I would like to close with an incredible story and quote from the genius, brilliant Dr. Seuss. Today you are you. That's truer than true. There's no one alive that's youer than you. So be you, and remember, you are more powerful than you think. Thank you very much.